Those of us here in Texas also saw the Columbia break up over our heads. Could you tell us where you were and what you were doing during those disasters?
Well, when the Challenger disaster, I had a friend, there was a friend from out of town staying at my house, and I get up every morning and I walk, you know, I for exercise and sometimes run. So I had walked an extra mile, and I was on my way back home, and he greeted me, Alan Johnson, at my front door, and he said, "Oh, Nichelle," and he grabbed me. And I thought somebody in my family, something had happened. He said, the Challenger. And I said, "Oh, yes, it went up. Did you see it?" And then I discovered it had happened. I react very strangely to good or bad news. I became very, very silent. I didn't cry for maybe a year, but my heart was broken. Do you know what I mean? Because my people were in that ship. Dr. Ron McNair was one of my recruits that I had given a big event for in Los Angeles that he had come to, and Gene Roddenberry came, and I put a big show on for him of dancers and singers and all about space, and it was a space musical, and he was just blown away. And NASA had sent spaceships and memorabilia to the Palladium in Los Angeles, and it was a marvelous, all the press came out. It was a marvelous event, and that happened to me the last time that I saw him. Last year I was on Monique's show, and in the audience was his son, his grown son, and his wife, and this little boy had been just a little boy, and he looked so much like his father. We took him in my arms and hugged him so, and it may have been, that's when I cried. So that was 25 years later, but it was always in my heart. Judy Resnick, who 4 years after Star Trek, NASA presented me with its highest civilian award, the medal, and just before she went on, it was Resnick who pinned me. And she was one of my recruits. That was such an incredible thing to stand there and have her pin just before she went up. But beyond, there's nothing beyond that. But along with those things that happen as we evolve in any area, we have mishaps or something. People give their lives to come across to this country, you know, to discover, it wasn't being blasé or cavalier about it. It was being so highly respectful, because sometimes I think when you cry or become extremely emotional, you wash it out, and I think I realized years later, I wanted to keep it. I wanted to hold it. And who got me off on this?
Let me follow this up. We were talking about this before we came out here, and I asked you about the years you spent recruiting for NASA.